Coming to you all the way from the city of Miami in the sunshine state of Florida, bringing you the latest in the LGBTQ plus community. This is the FayWhat Show with your host, FayWhat.
I love how he says FayWhat. Buenas noches, mi gente, and welcome to the FayWhat Show. FayWhat! So our show's mission is to entertain, educate, and unite our community with real-life topics in a safe, positive, and fun environment. Because together we win, and divided we what? Fall! You know it. Ya, tú lo sabes. So our LGBTQ topics are human topics. They're conversations that need to be had, and we aren't afraid to have them. No more being in the closet with our thoughts and what's important to us in the LGBTQ plus community, right? So today we speak to a young activist and member of the LGBTQ plus community, Maxx Fleming, who at only 17 years old started Prism, a nonprofit organization that helps LGBTQ plus youth. Also shares his passion through social media on TikTok. You've got to follow him. His videos are hysterical. There's a lot of tears from me watching and from him. Lots of tears. But it's a lot of educating too. Educating people on topics of gender and sexuality. And honestly, I can't wait to talk to him. And then we will end the show with a little bit of humor, because we always need that funny ha 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 time, right? With the funniest gay pride buttons. You know, like campaign buttons back in the day, but for gays. So you know it's much more fabulous and good. So let's get started. So Miami Beach Pride was amazing this past weekend. Fort Lauderdale Pride preparations are in full swing and people are celebrating across the country. Some for the first time, like our guest. And while part of Pride is parties and parades, it's also about shining a light on the issues the LGBTQ plus community faces and amplifying the work of those fighting for justice and equal rights. Young people have been powering social movements for generations. And this fight for equality within gender and sexuality is no different. We've got one of those bright lights with us tonight. Please help me welcome Mr. Maxx Fleming from Prism. Woo! You know, it's just us in here, so you only get my clap.
Right.
But you know it's a big clap.
Why does everybody spell my name wrong?
Woo!
For clarification, my name is Maxx Fenning. But everyone says it wrong.
Everybody says it wrong.
Because I've never met anyone with my last name.
Really?
Other than my parents and my sister.
Well,
I've never met anyone with my last name.
Those are important people with your last name.
Right.
And I personally like that. I didn't spell your first name wrong, and you have
You
Maxx
didn't.
with two X's.
That is true. Which that people always.
You know?
Like, yeah, people are like, what is it short for? Is it short for Maximilian, Maximus, MaxiPad? No.
And you're like, no,
Yeah.
it's
weird because
short
usually
for me.
nicknames are shorter, but they like to make them
But
longer.
they're pretty long. You know, when I first met you and I saw that your name was spelled with two X's, I thought that you were going for like the OnlyFans kind of thing, and you were going to put like three X's.
That I have thought about that.
That's next.
If and maybe when I do, I will definitely be putting three X's in there.
Listen,
That'll be.
Look up Maxx Fenning on OnlyFans. You're going to find something there. All right?
Right.
So Maxx Fenning founded Prism, an LGBT nonprofit. I got the pin right here. In South Florida at 17 years old. Now he's old as hell. He's 19. And studying at the University of Florida online. Maxx serves as Prism's president, where he works to expand access to LGBTQ plus inclusive education and sexual health resources. In addition to his advocacy work, Maxx is active on TikTok, like I told you guys, where he discusses hard-hitting topics on gender and sexuality and sexual health, mental health, and LGBTQ history. All in an effort to get laid. No. All in an effort to prove that safe sex is sexy. Welcome to the FayWhat Show, Maxx.
Here.
Thank you for saying yes. You're an inspiration. You're young and you're an inspiration. I want you to know that. And I'm so happy that the future has you in it. You know, it gives me a lot. It gives me a lot of hope. How'd you get here, Maxx? How did you, when did your journey begin? What is your first memory of you feeling that you were different?
So, You want to know how I realized I was gay, or how I got into the activist scene? So I had always thought of sort of like gay rights as like something that I like supported politically, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I was always into it. I remember once I was at a dinner with my parents and their friends, and I was like, you should vote for Obama because he supports gay marriage. And my parents were like, I was like 11. So it was always, you know, something that I supported politically. And then it wasn't until like 7th grade, I remember it was like the first week of 7th grade, and there was a friend of mine and his friends were like shipped me with, you know, like, I don't know if you know what shipping is, but it's,
I want to know really bad.
well, it's basically when you like wish and yearn for two people to be in a relationship together. It's like
Okay.
you want them to be in a relationship. So it's a
Okay,
ship.
so you ship.
So
Okay.
they shipped me with this friend of mine, and this was the first time that like there was like a hypothetical of like me being gay.
Okay.
And then like that sat in my mind, and then that sat in my mind for longer, and then I was like, oh, this is actually like part of me. It's not just like a external thing.
It didn't feel like you were putting on somebody else's clothes. It felt comfortable.
Right, exactly. And then, so I originally came out as bi, which sometimes is used as like a stepping stone, but bisexuality is its own identity.
And it's Bisexual Week.
Yes, it is. It's Bi Awareness Week.
Uh-huh.
That's a real identity, but for me, I used it as more of a stepping stone. And then my freshman year, I was like, wow, or my sophomore year of high school, I was like, I don't like vagina.
Like at all.
At all. And then I came out as gay.
See, but you know, do you think that takes away the validity of bisexual people because most of us go and like step into the shallow part of the pool before jumping in full force? You know,
100%. I think that makes like the perception of bisexuality like.
it doesn't mean that it's not true,
Right.
because I do believe in bisexuality. And I've seen it, I've experienced it.
Right.
But most people will go, oh, that's the easy way out, you know,
Right.
or you're being safe.
And
I
I think that a lot of gay and lesbian folks use bisexuality as sort of like this is like less of a shock for people, and so it feels like less of a commitment, even though sexuality is malleable and can change. But bisexuality is like a real identity. Like just because a bisexual person is in a relationship with someone of the same gender does not mean that they're gay or lesbian, and if they're in like a hetero relationship, that doesn't mean that they're straight. They like both. They can like both simultaneously.
So then but would it be safer for someone to say they were non-binary or pansexual?
Well, non-binary is gender identity, so that's who you are.
That's who you feel.
Yeah,
like.
that's not who you're attracted to. But I think pansexuality. I think that we're getting away from this idea of like usually we think of bi as meaning like two. But the definition that a lot of folks sort of think of as bisexuality now is it's just more than one.
Okay.
So we like to talk about like the bi umbrella. So we have so basically anyone who's attracted to more than one gender, and we have pansexuality, which is like under that sort of like umbrella, which is basically you're attracted to people regardless of gender. You don't even consider.
You don't even
gender
see
as,
that.
like,
It's
a
not even
factor.
considered. Okay.
A lot of times people use pansexual specifically if they want to highlight the fact that they're attracted to people that are like beyond the gender binary. So people are like non-binary, agender, genderqueer.
Genderqueer.
And they use that specifically to highlight that. It does not mean that you're attracted to pots and pans, contrary to.
Jeez, don't even get me started. Oh my Lord. Yeah, I've heard the craziness like that. So Prism aims to provide LGBTQ plus youth in South Florida and beyond with the education and support they need to live a happy, healthy life. Because that's all we want, right? It's our goal to make sure everyone feels included in their community, regardless of race, religion, sexual orientation, or gender identity. That is your mission statement over at Prism.
Indeed it is.
And it's a beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. How did you go about helping the youth? How did you figure out, like, wow, I mean, it's obvious that everybody needs help, especially in our LGBTQ plus community, but where did that come from?
So I stumbled into, I think everything in my life has stumbled into.
Yeah.
Right. And
not because you're clumsy, like
no,
me, just because.
No, we were just talking about you worried that you're going to break your mug. No, it was something that I really stumbled into. It was my sophomore year of high school, and I think it was right before I came out as like gay. I decided to go to the GSA meeting, and they just happened to be doing their like officer elections.
Just happened to.
No, they I didn't know that they were doing that. They're like, oh yeah, so we're doing that, and I was like, huh, why not? Like
I'm off on that day. Okay.
I'll run. And so I did, and then they chose me as their vice president because I'm so amazing
you were
and
Kamala
charming.
Harris.
And I was Kamala Harris. And I really fell into that position, but I'm not someone like, if I'm gonna like do that, and I'm gonna have people trust me to do that, I'm gonna actually, live up to that.
Come through.
So I really did, and I pushed and I pushed and I pushed. But what I saw is the sort of space that was created, and what you tend to see in a lot of LGBT spaces, unfortunately, is they're sort of built for a specific subset of the LGBT community. They're usually built for
the G.
They're built for
the white G.
But not, yeah, exactly. They're built for like me, like a white gay twink, basically. And like and I have really very, very close personal relationships. My boyfriend at the time was a person of color, and we were dating for like 3 years, and it was through that I sort of built a better understanding of what it's. I'll never know fully what it's like to be a person of color in the LGBT community, but I built a better understanding of it, and I realized, and I heard from not only him but plenty of other people, people of color in my life, this sort of distance that they felt to the LGBT community, because all of these spaces, they go into these spaces and they're like the only black or brown person in the room, and there's just like a sea of like caucasity surrounding them, and sometimes that can be really uncomfortable.
Yeah,
it's not when a space feels like it is built for everyone except you. It feels so uncomfortable,
and it feels so lonely.
Exactly, and it's the LGBT community. It's meant to be a community. It's meant to be a safe space, a welcoming space, and that totally detracts from that. And so we really wanted to make a space that was built for everyone. That's our slogan: is for every color, for everyone. And that's, we really live up to that.
But mainly teenagers, right?
Right. So we serve youth ages 13 to 24. What I realized when in a leadership position in an LGBT club, high school club, was I had no idea about anything regarding LGBT history, LGBT or sexual health or anything like that. I didn't know what PrEP was. I didn't know who Harvey Milk was.
Wow.
I didn't know all of these. I didn't even know who like Marsha P. Johnson or like Sylvia Rivera were when I was in high school.
Get out of my show right now.
No, I know. And then it was through and I didn't learn any of that through being in GSA. I learned it because
gay Google.
Right, exactly. Gay Google. And I decided to take it upon myself. I like to I rabbit hole into things. In Google searches and whatnot. I learned all about it, and I was like, wow, why isn't this being taught? Right? These are such like your shock, right?
Yeah.
That was my shock when I learned about it, and I was like, why isn't this being taught? And then
why do we have to go far
right.
to search it to get that LGBTQ history?
Right.
I have to agree, because it wasn't until like maybe a couple of years ago that I was also like woke.
Right. and then it was when I was looking for like STI testing or other sexual health services, and I was like, this is so difficult to find, and for why? So it was and so it was all of that sort of really drove me and a lot of other people, all of the other sort of, I guess, founding members, to really push for something greater
and
than what we have.
One of the main things, the reason that I love Prism is because of something that you said, that it's not just gay youth, or it's not just lesbian youth. It really is all the letters in our acronym, and
right.
and then that's that. Like people forget that most of us knew we were gay when we were that age.
Right.
And all of us were that age at that time, So here at the FayWhat Show, it's all about educating. You guys know that, right? Just like what, Maxx is talking about. We want folks that maybe never met a trans person or an LGBTQ person or a lesbian or a gay boy, that to not feel awkward or afraid. We need to break that stigma, and with each of our guests, we strive to walk away learning something. So Maxx, let's talk about, we're going to talk about a few things that like maybe kids go through that maybe you've had some kind of interaction with or heard about it, and you tell me like, what do you think? Okay. Because since you guys are helping all the youth, you've probably come across this. All right. So I've heard in conversations, someone say that they're against hormone blockers or hormones, or for a teen because of the age of the child, that they think it's a phase and would rather wait than get educated. What do you think about that? that issue.
Right. So so I think there's two sides to every story. Sometimes there's just a wrong side. But I think that that it is, like you said, like we know who we are. We may not have a strong sense of self when we're younger, but we have a pretty good idea of who we are. And I don't think that should be devalued. It is obviously it's harder to transition after you've already gone through puberty.
Okay.
You know, than
before.
Than blocking puberty in the first place. But there are people who detransition. There are people who especially because gender, your where you feel as though you fall on the gender spectrum can vary throughout your life. You can go throughout your life and you can feel more comfortable in a different part of the
you can evolve into that space where you're more comfortable with who you are.
Exactly. And sometimes that shifts over time. Just like any part of your being can change. Because gender is very like malleable, you know,
and fluid,
it's fluid.
And
exactly.
and it's an evolution. But
Right.
you know, the Fox and Friends people use those detransition people
Right.
against us. You
Right.
know, like
Right.
at every turn.
Right. And the detransition rates are not high
At all. No, at all. They're not.
And you see those like very, very small examples, and you get this, and then people, you know, use that to be like, just like with COVID, people are like, my grandfather never wore a mask and he got COVID and he's 130 and he's still alive, and it's like, okay, you're one person, you know.
Yeah. My mailman's uncle's brother's son, right, was fully vaccinated and he's still like, come on, shut up, you know. Maxx, one of our viewers had sent in a message on Facebook a couple of weeks back that their teen identifies as non-binary and that she doesn't know how to express to her child that it's okay and that she does care. What would you tell her to do? You know, at that age, I believe the kid was in her teens, so they were probably like around 15, 14 years old. You know, at that age, I remember hating my mom, you know, and thinking that she didn't understand me, you know. So like, what would you tell a parent to maybe go in with some kind of info that would make the kid go, oh, okay, my mom actually knows what the hell she's talking about? Right.
So Prism has our big thing is like education, and we have a lot of information on how to respond to people coming out.
Okay.
We check out our site. We have a lot of information about how to respond to people coming out, how everything about pronouns. I think that especially if you haven't come into and you haven't been exposed to identities outside of the gender binary, and you haven't learned how to treat it as not being a binary but being like a spectrum of full colors. It can be a really difficult thing to sort of like start processing. We have
and that's the case for the parent. I can see the overwhelming, like the person, you know, I think about it, like we're LGBT, so we're exposed to a little more. Right. So a straight woman from, you know, Jersey is going to be like, what do I do? Where do I start?
Right. And the thing about being, you know, as a parent, you know, you want to be able to support your child, and part of that, you know, they're experiencing it and they're living it, and you're not, and the best that you can do is be able to educate yourself. And I think that learning how to use pronouns, how to talk about pronouns, learning about even like learning about context. So we talk a lot about LGBT history because it gives context for where we are today, and it gives context for all of these different facets of like the LGBT community, and learning, basically, just like I said, I rabbit hole into things when I learn about things, and rabbit hole into the topic and learn everything that you can. Make sure that you're learning from people who are representative of that identity. So make sure you're reading this information. Try to read as much of this information as you can from people who are non-binary, from people who are gender non-conforming.
So go to the Prism website and get information there. But that's a great intro right there, like what Maxx said. I love you, Maxx, by the way. You know, like just think about it. The parent could go in and say, hey, what pronouns would you like for me to use? Something so simple, but it's so common that we use in our community, but in the heteros, they've never heard that. You know what I mean? Like, they've heard it, but they're like, you know, can't really wrap their head around it. That would be an in to show them that the mom cares.
Right.
I love that. You see, learning something every day. So last year, the Trevor Project released a national survey on LGBTQ youth mental health, 2020, and it spotlights new insights into the unique challenges that LGBTQ plus youth face every day. It provides critical insight around LGBTQ youth mental health disparities, discrimination, housing instabilities, barriers to affirming healthcare, subjection to conversion therapy, and suicide. The survey also highlights how safe spaces and social support positively impact the well-being of LGBTQ plus youth. So let's go over some of these findings with you, Maxx, and you tell me what you think, okay? So let's see. The first one is 40% of LGBTQ respondents seriously considered attempting suicide in the past 12 months, with more than half of transgender and non-binary youth having seriously considered suicide. What do you think about that? You think that's 40%? That's a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it makes me very sad.
No crying. We'll talk about his crying later.
But really, I think I'm not surprised by it though, and that's what makes me even more sad is that I'm not surprised by that.
Okay.
It's so difficult. Even still, we like to think, 2016 we passed. Or 2015, I mean, we passed same-sex marriage, and now we're now we're good to go, right?
No, and that's what the government wants us to think too.
Right.
They're like, we gave you marriage.
Right.
What more do you want, right?
But you and I know that that's not all that's not enough.
Yeah.
And even in 2021, folks face discrimination. Even in the gay hub that South Florida is, there is so much discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from Boca, which is very white,
affluent white.
Right,
Boca.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's very snooty.
I got pulled over there once. That's as close as I got.
It's snooty, and people are not super welcoming, and that.
Well, that's real close to Trump's summer house,
right?
So I can see why.
It is, and that's even in the sort of like gay hub that South Florida is. Anywhere else in Florida? Oh my gosh.
No, yeah, and we had Raji from Botched on our show, and she has told me in the past that if she's taking a road trip out of here, she will not stop at a rest stop to pee until she gets out of Florida. Okay, that is a 10-hour drive. Right. Easy.
Right. There are sundown towns for gays too, and it's so unfortunate that folks can't feel welcome in a place where they are 8 hours a day, right? It's your youth spend a majority of their waking time in school.
Yeah.
And if that's not a safe space, no wonder.
But and I could see how it's not. These teachers are not completely trained in how to deal with our community at all. They don't understand how grave it is to call a kid by their dead name. They don't get it. It's like, oh, you want to be called a table tomorrow? That's not it.
Right.
Like at all. I've got some really good friends that are teachers, and they're beautiful in their own right. They're allies, but they stay educated. They want to know more. Unfortunately, not many are like that. Yeah. And so, do you say that that's the reason why that percentage is so high of kids that think about killing themselves? I mean, that's such an endpoint, Maxx. Like, wow.
Right. And I think, we also see, the amount of people that don't even go to school because they're
going to get bullied. They're not learning anything.
Yeah, that have missed school just because they're worried that they're going to be discriminated against, or they're going to be harassed in a place that they're going to have to spend 8 hours of that day in. It's such anxiety inducing feeling.
Okay, and so talking about anxiety, the next fact was 68% of LGBTQ youth reported symptoms of generalized anxiety disorder in the past 2 weeks, including more than 3 in 4 transgender and non-binary youth. So it's totally according to what you're saying.
Yeah, no, and again, it's no wonder, because having to have that sort of I'm going to have to go to school today, and every single day is this worry that you're going to be discriminated against, you're going to be dead named, that you're going to be misgendered, that you're going to be, verbally or physically assaulted even, and having that continuous worry every morning when you wake up.
And at night before you go to bed.
Right.
Like, I could just imagine.
Exactly.
Next, 48% of LGBTQ youth reported engaging in self-harm in the past 2 months, including over 60% of transgender and non-binary.
It takes a very specific state of mind to
self-harm,
to want to do that, and it's a cry for help, right? It's this yearning that like nobody is giving me the support that I need, and I need to put this external mark on myself so that people can see how I'm feeling right now and see how hurt I am, and maybe then they'll
acknowledge,
give me support or whatever. It's really sad.
10% of LGBTQ youth reported undergoing conversion therapy, with 78% reporting it occurred when they were under age 18, which we talked about, which would be better to block everything before puberty comes out full blown. The next one was 29% of LGBTQ youth have experienced homelessness, being kicked out or run away. 1 in 3 LGBTQ youth reported that they had been physically threatened or harmed in their lifetime due to their LGBTQ identity.
Yeah, I on the one about conversion therapy, Palm Beach County and Boca Raton specifically had bans on conversion therapy that were deemed by the Florida Supreme Court, I believe, to not be legal for some reason. This idea that, you should be able to choose what kind of healthcare you get. But you're not, first of all, you're not choosing, it's your parents that are forcing that onto you. And also that it's been proven that causes more harm than good, right? We don't do lobotomies for a reason. Yeah. Because they don't work. Those things don't work.
Yeah.
We don't leech people because those things don't work. And it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Really.
So you went to your first Pride recently.
That wasn't my first Pride.
It was not your first?
No, it was not.
Oh, somebody told me it was your first. My bad. Sorry, guys.
Technically, Miami Beach Pride was my first Pride, but not
but I mean, yes or no?
But not this year.
Okay.
I think 2018 Miami Beach Pride was actually my first ever Pride, which I went to with my boyfriend at the time. I think I was in GSA. I wasn't really like, it wasn't like a big part of who I was. Like activism wasn't a big part of who I was. And then I was at Stonewall Pride. And then
here you are.
with Prism.
So you said that you were at Pride with your boyfriend, that you obviously are no longer with.
No, I'm not, but we still talk.
We all talk to our exes in the LGBTQ community. That's where we go wrong, real wrong. Stop calling me Stacy. Listen, so how was it like? How was it like that first Pride when you were like, I'm around my folks, like I'm here?
I was very...
Because what, you were 16?
16 or 17.
Okay.
And I was very, I spent a lot of my, like, growing up and at the beginning of high school being a pretty introverted person.
You're outgoing. I can't imagine that.
I was an INTJ on the Myers-Briggs, and I'm an ENTJ. So I'm more extroverted. It's been proven now.
Okay.
And it's really been coming into what I do now and talking to people. But I think that Pride is one of those things where it's so lively, and I was so not. But I was really able to sort of like break out into something so like so much energy that you can't not. Yeah. You can't not let that,
you can't not feel it.
Right, exactly.
Because it's just thousands of people together, and there's no animosity. It's like we're all here to celebrate Pride. How beautiful is that?
And it's all of those sorts of queer spaces and queer events and talking to people in Prism and all of that is what made me an ENTJ instead of an INTJ. So.
I love it. Well, that's awesome, because many people can't come out of that shell, and then you've got the stigmas and the shame, and you're scared and all that. So I commend you highly from an introvert to an extrovert like me. So where do you see Prism in 10 years?
A much bigger scale than we're at now. I think we've only been around now for we originally actually started as a high school club to sort of augment our GSA on campus, and we incorporated right at the beginning of the pandemic. So it was April,
needed, honey.
March,
it was
March,
needed.
April. This was the time when we filed this paperwork. We were at where everyone else was, where we were like, this is gonna last like a month, right? Like nothing had locked down yet, nothing like that had happened, and then it did, and then it stayed that way,
And then it stayed.
and now here we are.
And here we are.
And so, but in that time, the amount of growth that we've been able to see, like the amount of people that we've reached. 35,000 people view our Instagram every month. Like,
that's awesome.
And it's wild the amount of people that we reach now already, and it's only been a year and a half. Where we are in 10 years,
global bitches.
Like really, like the amount of hard work that everyone puts in and continues to put in. Sky's the limit, honestly.
Oh, that's awesome. What do you hear from the youth that you think that us older folks, oh, I can't believe I just put myself in an umbrella of older folks. Let me take a moment. Okay, I'm still cute. All right. What are we not hearing that the kids, that the LGBTQ youth is screaming right now, trying to tell us? What are we not hearing? Or what should we be paying attention to that they're screaming and we're not hearing?
I think it varies.
Okay.
I don't think the opinions of the youth vary. I think like how older folks feel about it varies. But I think that is this idea of gender is the way that it's talked about now is relatively new compared to the LGBT movement.
The fluidity,
as a whole. Right? And there are a lot of older, especially like older gay men that when the LGBT civil rights movement really started kicking off in like the 1670s, trans people were like, like they're the ones who
they were the ones who do the brick and everything, right. Like do the work, but then move over.
And then you have those first few pride parades where they weren't even allowed to participate, as like a prominent,
and it was all gay white men.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so this sort of like exclusion of people that are like, we shouldn't put the T in there because it detracts from it. In what way? Yeah. Those are the people who fought for our rights as well, and everyone's rights. And we're the catalyst. And you can't just toss trans and gender nonconforming people to the side after that. So it's that. But I also think that, like I said, it's pulling away from just advocating for like the part of the LGBT community that's like marketable, which is like white gays, right? And it's understanding that like there is so much more to the LGBT community evolving all the time. Right,
I think
that needs representation. That needs to also be advocated for. That spaces need to be built, not just for. That need to be built for everyone.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that youth, the Gen Zers, the Zoomers are clamor for.
Definitely. Like I have friends that have children, and I know people that are that are younger, and to them it's just not as important, the gender marker, like you said, as it is for us. It's like, yeah, I like girls, I might like boys. Okay, tomorrow I might like girls again, like it's just, and it's not, I might like this person just because of the kind of personality they have, nothing to do with what's in between their legs. And the older generation is so set on the M and the F. I was so excited now that we have the X for passports. So I'm like, yes,
right. Exactly.
Little steps. So Maxx, you're also a TikTok star. We've got to talk about that. Okay. So, like your TikToks they're funny. He's constantly crying. He's giving lectures. It's like a gay TED Talk, all right, up on TikTok. You've got one that I love that you were gearing towards the kids saying like, how do you deal with a teacher that's dead naming you, right? What did you say on that TikTok video?
We talked a lot about this, especially for non-binary awareness week, and also just we were getting back to school, so it was very relevant. Really, we there's a lot of things that you can do to talk to your teacher about it. You can send them an email or write at the bottom of your assignment, or there's all of these sort of like ways that you can talk about this without having to
make it a big
thing.
and it is a big thing,
right?
But making it in a way where it's not so scary for the teacher.
The other thing is what we see is now that we have this discussion about pronouns, you have teachers especially, or anyone who's like facilitating some sort of group meeting where they they want to ask for people's pronouns, which is awesome, and I think that it's an awesome idea to normalize that. But you also have you may have a lot of instances where you have transgender and gender nonconforming people who are closeted, right? Who are not necessarily out, and if they say the pronouns that they want to use, then they're outing themselves. And then if they say the ones that they were assigned at birth, then now they're sort of stuck with having said that at the beginning of the class. And so it's important that we don't force people to say their pronouns. That if someone just says hi, hi, I'm Max, and then doesn't say their pronouns, that we're not like, and what are your pronouns? Like, don't remind people to say it, because there could be a very deliberate reason that they're not saying those.
Got it.
And that's something that I think we need to find like a balance of.
Yeah, like not too much, but not too little.
Right.
So, are you in a relationship now?
I'm not. I'm an eligible bachelor.
You heard it. You heard it here first. Now your TikTok's gonna go crazy. No, but for real, you guys really have to go check out Max's TikTok, because it's hysterical, but it's also very personal, and he's okay. Send him flowers or chocolate or something. But he's super cute, super sweet, and I just think he's trying to get laid by all the TikTok videos. That's all I gotta say. I'm just saying.
Well, the ones where I'm shirtless, yeah.
The ones where and the one where he ties his shirt up and is singing. You gotta check it out. It's super cute. Max, thank you so much for joining us today. Keep kicking ass and giving me hope. You give me hope for the future, and I know that just with more Maxes in the world, we're gonna be okay. Follow Maxx on social media. Youngins, go check out Prism. You need some help, get in contact with them. Parents, you've got a non-binary, trans, LGBTQ kid, you want answers, Google or go to Prism's website. They're not gonna steer you wrong. Look at so Maxx, I'm gonna ask you to look into that camera and tell that young person that is struggling and thinks that they're all alone out there. Talk to them. Tell them what they can do and that there is some kind of hope.
I think that it's really important that you understand that although you might be in a difficult spot right now, that you might not have a lot of people that support you right now, that you are valid, that you are you're not confused or lost. If you are confused, there's a light at the end of that tunnel, and life is a journey. You're gonna find the people that support you inevitably,
or they'll find you.
Keep kicking ass like Faye keeps saying I'm doing.
But you are. It's I'm just so proud of you. I really am, Maxx. Thank you so much. Whatever it is that sparks that ass of yours, that cute ass, to do everything that you do, let it keep on burning your ass hairs.
And quick plug. I'm live every Monday and Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We talk about all sorts of fun stuff. I do my coding for sluts. Is a class
I love
that I do.
Coding for sluts. You heard it. You didn't hear wrong. That's what he said. It was coding for sluts. Coding
for sluts. You want to learn about coding?
All you putas out there. That's it.
Mm-hmm. We do consent. We did consent for bad bitches. This Wednesday we're doing bisexuality for cishet men, but it's not just for cishet men. It's for everyone.
Okay, and one of them was slang, right?
Yesterday we did LGBT slang for cishet men. Okay. And it was great.
All right, you've got to go watch it, and you're going to be joined by thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of other people that are also enjoying all of Max's videos. So make sure that you find him on all social media outlets. He definitely is one to watch and just an incredible kid, and I'm just lucky to say that we were so blessed to have you come and be on the FayWhat show today,
so
Maxie.
To be here.
Thank you, honey. Thank you. So, and now the funniest gay buttons. You know that we always got to end the show with something funny, right? And us in the gay community, we can be pretty damn funny, right? Yeah, we're kind of funny. All right, so here we go with the funniest gay buttons. Your first button. Oh dear, I'm queer. By the way, that is a very fabulous deer right there. You see that deer? Yeah, that is one happy deer. Look, that deer's not on poppers or anything. That deer is happy. Next button, number 2. I didn't choose, I just got lucky. Or like my mom said, when I told her I was bisexual, she said I was greedy. Yeah. Number 3, all the cool girls are lesbians. Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? All right. Number 4, my rooster is magical. Is that his cock? That is his cock. Wait a minute. Well, your cock is magical. I've never said that out loud. All right, number 5. I'm here. I'm queer. My joint pain is moderate to severe. Help. I felt this one too hard. If I sit down for too long, me duele todo. Okay? If you don't know what that means, ask your nearest Latino. It means everything freaking hurts. Number 6, I swing both ways. By the way, happy Bisexuality Week Day this Thursday, September 23rd, just to let you know. But that button was for you, my bisexuals. Number 7, I'm not a party gay. I'm a homebody, a homosexual. Sorry, I just got that. Oh my God, add Netflix and some Thai and I am a happy queer right here. So, number 8, I'm so gay, I shit rainbows and sprinkles. But you know, the reality is that I really don't poop. I don't do number 2. No girl does. And that was the funniest gay buttons. So if you have an idea or a story that you'd like to share, we want to hear all about it. Cuéntanos, and it might be featured in one of our upcoming segments. Send them our way on our Instagram page at FayWhat YouTube or email us at info@faywhat.com. So what a great show. I have to thank our guest, Maxx Fenning from Prism. He is definitely incredible and one to watch. Those behind the scenes, we cannot do what we do without you guys. My producer, director, mi hermano, Luisito Flores, I love him. Our assistant director, project manager, David Fernandez. And all of you for letting us do our thing every week. Don't forget to share, subscribe, and like, and my eye won't stop watering. It must be Max's cologne. Like us on YouTube, Facebook, and IG. So today's personal message is going to be all about my trans community. So trans people are at the forefront of LGBTQ issues in America, right? And across the country, conservative lawmakers are pushing policies that prohibit transgender people who identify with a gender different than the one assigned to them at birth from using the bathrooms that align with their gender identity. So state officials say these laws are necessary for public safety, despite no evidence that letting trans people use the bathroom for their gender identity causes public safety issues ever. Then, you know, our favorite Cheeto president, Mr. Trump, and his administration revoked the guidance originally written by the Obama administration that told federally funded schools to not discriminate against trans students. And most controversially, let trans students use the bathroom and locker room that correspond with their gender identity. The Trump administration effectively argued that whether trans people are protected under the law should be decided at the state level and not the federal level. Boo! At the heart of the issue seems to be a widespread lack of understanding of trans issues and gender identity. After all, until a few years ago, concepts like gender identity and expression and how they affect the hundreds of thousands of Americans who identify as transgender, gender non-conforming, genderqueer, and non-binary hardly scratch the surface of mainstream news and entertainment in any meaningful way. So we've got a lot of work to do, but having kids like Maxx at the forefront, we might just see the day that there is truly equality for all. Yo soy FayWhat. Thank you for allowing me to be me every single week. You have no idea how much that means to me. Please join us next week for another great show. Make sure that you share, like us, and subscribe. I'm sending you a bunch of love, peace, and happiness to all. Los quiero. Stay gay. See you next week.